Hey everyone. Okay, so you can freely call me gullible after this, but I loved how Horikoshi just completely flipped the script, not only on the villains, but one on me as well with this chapter, because upon just reading those first handful of pages, I genuinely thought he was going to go down the exact same route he already went with Izuku and repeat the same thing, but in this case, dragging the entirety of Class A with him. But instead, he had it go in the complete reverse direction by having Class A kind of make do on their promise of now that they were all rested well and prepared to take on the league. They just kind of they left U8 technically. I mean, they're still kind of on a they're still technically in a UA like compound dorm or whatnot, but they're not like actually at UA anymore, and they have no intent to bother those that they could potentially put in harm's way any longer either. And while it would have been interesting to see the possible scenario All for One talked about in this chapter with Horikoshi had kind of set the pieces on the board in a way where ultimately Izuku is in that place now where even if All for One's plan did succeed, Class A would have happily dragged themselves down with him. So it would have been the same thing all over again, with just a repeat of the same thing all over again, just with a different result. But even so, I like how he actually kind of he I don't want to say he subverted that, but he definitely he wrote it where yes, that the plan was always to kind of just not stay there. The plan was always just to not stay there just stay there permanently. And honestly, but even more than that, the fact that the heroes are so open and honest with the public in this chapter, when they leave, shows just the change in how this whole situation has taught the heroes to put their own faith in the public, whereas before they would have kept them at arm's length. And one of my particular favorite moments in this whole montage of Class A interacting with everyone is when we see Izuku with Eri and Koda, because while there's no dialogue, it kind of almost gave me that vibe like Izuku was telling them to kind of to look after each other, like he was being a big brother, like talking to his little siblings kind of thing. Like I love just little moments like that with Izuku, just kind of showing just how much he truly does care for people. And now, with that said, let's talk about the Uraraka and Izuku moment in this chapter, because honestly, on top of being just a great conversation with how natural the interactions between the two of them felt and just flowed in general, like honestly, this whole conversation, all the conversations between in this chapter just felt so natural. Like no matter what happens, how this series ends, one thing I gotta give Horikoshi credit for is that he's gotten much better at how naturally flowing a lot of his conversational dialogue can be. Like before, it always felt a little bit forced in the beginning, but the more My Hero Academia has kind of moved forward, the more natural the dialogue between characters has felt, honestly. And in here, it just felt so. Just seeing Izuku and Uraraka interact it felt like such a mature. I don't want to say it felt like such a natural and in some ways mature conversation between two people that respect each other. Like from moment to moment, from moment to moment, how we're seeing them essentially relay their own experiences to each other, specifically in how, despite knowing All for One and the villains need to be defeated, there's still people that they want to save. Like just knowing, just seeing them talk about the people they want to save, that in itself shows a level of growth and maturity with these characters. And in the case of the people they want to save, for Izuku it's Shigaraki, and for Ochiko it's basically Toga, because for both Izuku and Ochiko, from their experiences encounter with these two, they've learned just what kind of tortured soul can exist behind the mask of villainy. And the villains are, as Ochiko so plainly puts it, people first. And I like how Ochiko laments that what she said at that time to Toga suddenly felt completely like just it doesn't feel appropriate or even like what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like it it doesn't feel like the intelligent it doesn't feel like a response that a hero should have even had to begin with. Like she learned through Toga that there's this that this world isn't just in shades of black and white. There's so much gray surrounding it there's so much gray surrounding it, and because of that, Oshiko wants to be that person now in order to save who Toga has become because of what society has done to her. And yeah, obviously the whole thing of calling themselves weird, yeah, is kind of an understatement with these two, because like just that whole thing of them calling each other, just that whole little bit of them calling each other, of Ochiko saying, I guess we're both weird. Yeah, perfect encapsulation of these two in a nutshell, because let me tell you something. The only weird thing about you two from the from the very jump that you were introduced is just how much your relationship represents the two dorks in love trope. Like, obviously you respect each other as colleagues, but man, you guys have been just two dorks desperately crushing on each other, and I kind of love it. You two, and I kind of love it. But yes, seriously though, it was just a great conversation between these two characters. I also like how it isn't just Izuku and Ochiko's insight we get though, but also Todoroki is dealing with his own issues, particularly in regards to Toya, and how now that he is in the thick of it all, Todoroki openly admits in this chapter to not even having an idea of how he's going to even go about reaching out to Toya, like a brother he doesn't even know. Like, it's a nice, genuine, honest moment from Todoroki, in the sense where up to this point he's been a guy we've come to know as always having the best plan, have a relatively good plan in order to get out of any tight situation. But here we see him have a genuine, like, human moment of admitting openly that he doesn't have a fucking clue of how he's going to reach out to Toya. And honestly, how could Todoroki even have an idea of how to reach out to Toya? Like, honestly, even if Todoroki knew everything there was to know about his brother and actually had the opportunity in growing up to spend time with him before all of what happened to Toya happened, I still believe Todoroki would be right here in this exact situation, trying to figure out how to reach out to his brother, because when you get down to it, Toya's mind and body have just been broken from the inside out due to the weight of Endeavor's expectations. Like, if there's any piece of the old Toya in Dahlia right now, then it's buried deep. And Todoroki's going to have to drag it out of the pit of swirling darkness that is Davi right now. I really don't envy him, honestly, but just in general, I just loved how this chapter took the time to show the weight of these, like, personal trials these characters are feeling in the moment. Like, even like they haven't even started to try to reach out to these people yet, but they're still, like, feeling the weight of what they're going to do, and I kind of love it. And yeah, the chapter ends with the start of the next day and the operation set to begin, which, yeah, honestly, from here we're pretty much at full steam ahead to the climax. But I'll be curious exactly how many chapters we have from here until the ending, from here until the climax, because if Horikoshi thinks he can still make his 2022 cutoff, I think we've still got a good chunk to go from here, like with Naruto. But from here it's gonna be a thing of how he's going to make every single chapter and every single moment in each page, like, count in terms of character dynamics throughout this conflict, both with the heroes, the villains, and how these two forces interact with each other, because leading all the way up to final battle. But I will say, if the Liberation War arc is any indication, I do have faith Mashima can pull it off. I just hope that deadline he put on himself didn't affect this in any way. But again, I got faith in the guy. But yeah, guys, That's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.